we wanted to put daylight in all the spaces here. You know, this is also kind of lecture hall, but it's what we know from these places. Often it's in the middle of the building, very dark, no view to the outside. When you sit here a whole day, you have no idea how the weather is outside. Even the big lecture halls, there's a big hall for 450 people, it can be split in two. They have a view to the outside. We were lucky, we had a forest very close to the building on one side. That provides shade for the facade, which actually means that you can give a lecture there without putting down the sunscreens, and even the slides are very visible when you do that. And we had a very positive feedback on that. Talking about the benefits of nature, and when we talk about how can we actually prove these things, there's been a lot of research on this. Actually, when you enjoy nature for 4 minutes, it's enough to lower the stress level in your body. You can measure it in your heart rate, in the stress hormones in your body, and that's something which we can use a lot, I think, in a way of making healthy buildings. It's been implemented more in the healthcare, I think, than in other areas. So, when we put together a team for designing a new building, we are very keen always on the technical aspects. So, architects, technicians, but also the builders and the suppliers of the materials, but the humankind of team members, they are not integrated very often. And I think it's something which is important to do, because we see these aspects. It's not something you apply in the end of the building. It goes to the whole structure and the whole typology of the building. One project where that was done is the Princess Maxima Center for Children with Cancer. That was a very special way they approached this. When a child has been diagnosed with cancer, the attention is very often put to the illness of the child. But what they see is that when a child is in hospital for maybe a year, they miss the whole development on a very important time of their life. Because after the cancer, hopefully, there is a life going on, and you need to pick that up again. So in this case, they want to focus not only on the illness, but also on the wellness of the child. And that was very special. There was a lot of research before we entered the process, done by psychologists and doctors, interviewing children, not only the children, but also the families and the parents and the people working there, to see what is important for this building. So the importance of bringing in all the stakeholders is also important. A child doesn't come alone when they goes to the hospital. The parents, they might even be there for a year with the child. They have other children, they have a job to do, they have bills to pay, but also the working process, of course, of the doctors is important. So that's something which was very important for this project. All the research done ahead resulted in rooms for not only the child, but always connected with an extra room for the parents. So you always have 2 rooms back to back together, and the parent has actually an own room in the hospital with a sliding door, so you can always be close to your child. You can also close the door if you need some privacy, or even when you have a child who is a teenager, they also sometimes think it's fine that the parents are not there. Parents have an own bathroom, so they can be close to the child. There were made a lot of mock-ups during the process to figure out how can we do this in the best way. So for instance, on the left hand side, you see the view from the bed of the parents. So you can actually, when you're laying in bed, you can keep an eye on your child, see if everything is okay. But also focusing on this wellness of the child, we made sure that if you turn the bed 90 degrees, you get more space on the floor, and there is a space to play. Maybe invite some friends to come to the hospital, and you can play in the same way that you can do at home. Also a lot of puzzling in these children. When they get the treatment, they feel very sick, very nauseous, and at that moment you want to be really close to your child. So we puzzle, we can move the bed of the parents next to the child, and they can really be close to close, even holding hands. But what happened when the hospital was built, we realized when they really feel sick, the children are much faster. They just jump out of bed and they sneak into the parents' room and they lay together in bed. So all these kind of things are very important. Also afterwards to have a look, like how does it really work in practice. All the rooms also are connected to an outside balcony, so it's always possible to go outside. The children stay a lot of time in their rooms, and maybe they are not well enough to go exploring the rest of the building, but at least they can get some fresh air and go outside. But also the parents can just step out of this situation for a moment and take a break, maybe even meet other parents in the same situation on the balcony. And next to the balconies, outside spaces played a big role in this hospital project, which is not always the case. So all around the buildings we have patios with lots of greenery, also just outside the building with a view to the green surroundings, and the balconies of course as well. Also for the personnel, they have a place where they can go outside, they can even take a walk out to the surrounding areas. So this was my last slide. I want to really make an effort to put in also these different kind of experts to implement the more human parts of the healthiness of the buildings.
That's very impressive. So we got a couple of minutes for questions. Just raise your hand. Yeah, okay.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. It was very inspiring, especially because I'm a lecturer and I work in an educational building, which is planned to going on for a renovation. So I can take the steps with me to my colleagues. I was wondering, you talked about happiness in a healthy building. How do you measure happiness?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think what you can do, and what is not done very much, is evaluating buildings after they have been taken in use. Happiness is really difficult to measure because you don't have, like we can measure the air quality. For example, what they are doing at Tapijn at the moment, they put all kind of sensors and we can measure that. And happiness is something which is really difficult to measure. I agree on that. I think evaluations to figure out what is working, what is not working, is definitely very important. Other things which can be measured, for instance, these kind of things as the benefits of nature. There are lots of studies showing the benefits, mainly in the healthcare. For instance, we know that if you are staying in a room in a hospital with a view to a green scenery, you stay for less days in the hospital than if you don't have that. It can even help reduce the use of medicines. I think that's also kind of a measurement of happiness, at least of the well-being. So there are some studies, but not enough. I think we need to put more effort into that, definitely.
Great. Right. Next. Who's next? Oh, yeah.
Hi, thank you for your presentation, very inspiring. I also had this question for the school in Virginia. What are the most important preconditions that will lead to success? Of course, asking the right questions, and you were telling you need doctors or psychologists in the process, but looking back at these 3 projects, what was the key for success, that they actually were built like this?
I think the number one first thing is you need to have a client who has a really strong vision and ambition, and who is also ready to stand behind this vision and put the effort into it. That's I think the most important things. And you need, what I said, you really need to put together your team and figure out what are the most important ambitions. How can we integrate this in the building by doing the research at the beginning of the project and not at the end, like, oh, maybe we can better do a green color on the wall or a blue ceiling, which that's not what it's about. You really need to understand these processes going on. Yeah.
I'll just reinforce that. Someone had asked me about this is the whole point. The process is, it sounded like I was trying to sneak out, but I really mean it. Like, the process is the most important part,
yeah.
And I think also establishing a narrative at the core of the project, so that this doesn't get value at engineered out, because there are amazing architecture firms that can do this. So.
Great.
And I think maybe we need to take these soft values much more serious. And I think for the first question, how do we measure that? That's the problem. But when doing more research on these things and also evaluating what the benefits are, because there are actually also financial benefits at the end. If you look at the total lifespan of a building, there are also financial benefits at the end. But there are not a lot of research showing really the exact connection between this. It's very important.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. My name is Simon. I'm also working for the Healthy Building Network, and our job is to inspire the enterprises, especially the SMEs, about the benefits of the healthy building, of healthy buildings. You called the University building of Maastricht the healthiest building in the world, and also the Wageningen University the most sustainable building.
No, not the building. The most
sorry.
green and sustainable university in the world.
Okay.
Yes, that's different.
I was
but
wondering.
that says something about their vision and ambition, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering, is there something like a ranking also? Because when we try to implement the theoretical knowledge more practical, talking to SMEs, they always ask us, where are the examples? Can you show us them? Because we learned that SMEs are especially most inspired if they see really such healthy buildings. So is there a ranking or something like that?
I'm not sure. Well, there are lots of. Every year they rank all these universities around the world on different subjects and themes. So that's an official ranking, especially for the university in Wageningen. They had a big ambition also on sustainability, for instance. And we actually designed the building along the measurements of the BREEAM, but they didn't want to certify the building, because for them it was about putting as much of effort and money and time into the building itself and to the students studying there. And for them, the certification, for instance, was not important. So that's also different. And in Maastricht, we really did the certifications for the WELL and the BREEAM and all these kind of things. So it's very different how these organizations value this themselves as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Carina. This was a very inspiring talk. It's always good to have architects with beautiful pictures and to inspire us here this morning. So thank you so much, and keep on going with the great work.